What's going on, everybody? It's Frito here for ClickCats with a huge news roundup. Riot's bi-weekly Ask Valorant Q&A is here, where they answer our most burning questions. And well, with the release of Killjoy just last week, the controversy of abilities that kill in the game, now with a turret added into the mix, has some players scratching their heads. First question says, I heard someone at Riot once say that abilities don't kill in Valorant, but there clearly are ones that do, like Raze. And of course, Killjoy. Are you breaking your promise? Well, if you're confused where this came from, way back in October, when Valorant was still being referred to as its code name Project A in beta, Nicolo, Riot Games CEO, explicitly said you don't kill with abilities in Valorant. Abilities create tactical opportunities to take the right shots. Characters have abilities that augment their gunplay instead of fighting directly with their abilities. And well, that meme spread like wildfire in the lead up to Valorant, and then in beta they added Raze, and now in release they added Killjoy, making a lot of players upset that we now have a lot of characters that are capable of getting kills in Valorant without their guns. Well, Riot responds in saying this statement isn't completely accurate, especially in a game that already had Raze and Killjoy's gameplay locked in before our announcement. Anyway, that was our mistake. A big part of that mistake was in missing the nuance, specifically that tactical fundamentals, not just abilities don't kill, are a key component. Guns provide the vast majority of kills, and even our damage abilities are designed with the goal of creating threat. When well played against, guns should be the primary method used to finish off opponents that are preoccupied with a distraction or trying to avoid the damage. In cases where that isn't holding up, like mid-combat blast pack usage, we'll fix those as part of our ongoing commitment to tactical gameplay. If this promise, abilities never kill, was the thing that made you come try Valorant, we're sorry if we misled you even unintentionally. But our position is, and has been, that abilities that deal damage are a core part of tactical games, whether it be Valorant or other tac shooters. We can unpack this topic more in future if you're interested. Of course, this comes straight from Morello, the developer that I feel like I spend more time with than my own wife, and his answer here is similar to things we've said in the past, but now it's got the public-facing Riot stamp of approval on this issue on their official blog post. On his live stream, he's gone to explain that Raze and Killjoy were some of the first characters that were ever developed, but due to tech reasons, they weren't implemented right away with the release of the game, either in beta or full release, and that continued to hold true as Killjoy had a ton of bugs, so many that she couldn't be included in the recent FaZe Clan Invitational tournament as they worked on shoring up the bugs and functionality. And to try to comment on both sides of the issue here, you can see how if an ability doesn't cause a threat, it can't dislodge someone other than, Sova wall hacks, for example. You need something that punishes a player standing still, because otherwise the gunplay is designed for pushing into someone holding an angle to be too strong. So you got to be able to toss something at them in order to get them to move. As we've spoke to Morello recently in a long-form interview, the debate rages on whether flashbangs in this game or similar entry utility just aren't strong enough, and it's something that they're looking into. Instead, I feel like in Valorant, physical abilities that either deal damage or mark you are stronger than flashes. And another thing to note, from the other side of things, from a player perspective, when we all first got our hands on Valorant, a character like Sova felt like a fair type of damage ability because Shock Dart was so difficult to use. But in truth, if you've watched the FaZe Clan Invitational, a player like Sinatra has really set the bar for what you can do with Shock Darts, and an ability that a lot of players thought was fairly weak, all of a sudden he's getting tons of kills with it just by knowing where to set it up, lineups, ways to time it with hitting on rollouts or post plants. So much so that I feel like the Shock Dart is better than a Raze nade. Like at lower levels, yeah, you can throw a Raze nade at somebody, but secretly the 80 damage Shock Dart, where you get two of and they hit you instantly and it's very difficult to dodge, is actually kind of more reliable than a Raze nade usually is. You don't see pro players die to Raze nades very often unless they're already positionally outplayed, whereas Shock Dart has so many lineups that you can set up. Players are just getting chunked down by them all the time, it feels like, if you watch carefully to the high level of play. But of course, in a new player's hands, it feels like a weak ability in comparison to throwing a nade. But next question in the Q&A, are there any abilities or kits that are a no-go for Valorant? How far is too far? Morello responds in saying, specifically, we try to avoid abilities that remove the high consequence gunplay. For example, increased maximum health tends to be a no-fly zone, as do abilities that replace guns, at least if they're not ultimates like Jett or Raze. And as an Overwatch player, don't even get me started talking about how adding kit that changes the breakpoints of characters. Overwatch has a very interesting relationship with that problem, with Brigitte adding extra armor to everyone and kind of breaking the game. So you could see why Morello is skittish in venturing down that path. It seems like half of their decisions are based on learning from Overwatch's mistakes and not making them themselves. Next question, what's going on with the anti-cheat? How many cheaters have you banned so far? They've stated they've banned 1,802 accounts manually after investigating suspicious players. But the overwhelming majority of bans are automatically applied by Vanguard. So is that number twice as big? 10 times as big? Who knows? He says that me and the rest of the team manually review suspicious accounts. This helps them find previously unknown cheats and also lets us evaluate Vanguard's performance. It also gives us an opportunity to manually accelerate the ban for the most disruptive players. So they kind of aid Vanguard along. He kind of jokes how he has his morning coffee and looks through a list of suspicious players, and he's currently the top of the team leaderboard for most accounts reviewed, which seems kind of funny that they even keep such a thing. But Arkham says that he'll doubt he'll hold his position much longer because they've expanded the pool of people investigating. So they sort of got their own internal competition in the effort to manually review accounts. Now, that's it for the Q&A. Next up, some important esports news. Riot announced the final Ignition Series event that they're naming Pop Flash, which will be hosted by the tournament organization Flashpoint, which has been covering CSGO almost exclusively, as far as I know, kicking off in like the last year with a lot of talent born and bred from the Counter-Strike scene. So you can suspect that the production value for this one is going to be quite high. It's going to go from Wednesday, August 26th through Sunday, August 30th, with a prize pool of $50,000. Teams in attendance will be Cloud9, Dignitas, Envy, Gen G, Immortals, Sentinels, T1, and TSM, which makes this event stacked. There'll be 3 days of group play, and the top 2 in each group will qualify for double elimination playoffs between the final 4 teams. So a lot of Valorant ahead of us. Next up, some quick news stories for you. Forbes had an article on how to get free VP in Valorant. This is actually pretty cool, though he does say there's no way to get the most expensive skins and lots of VP, but if you're a little bit of VP short, there is a loophole where Riot will award you a little bit of extra so you can afford that expensive skin you were hoping to get. And he says all you have to do is contact Riot Games support and ask if your account can be credited with the VP you are missing. You can only do this for small amounts, usually up to 50, and only if you are short to buy an item. If you're just searching for free VP for the sake of it, you're probably not going to succeed, but if you submit this request, they'll check and get back to you. And if you're in the clear, you'll be given the task to make some original artwork set in the Valorant universe and send it to Riot support. If they deem your artwork good enough, your account will be credited with free VP in the next few days. He goes on to say that this has been a free system in League of Legends for years, and it's a policy that they've sort of carried over into Valorant. I mean, let's be real. The monetization in this game is a little bit predatory, like most games are nowadays. So this doesn't like absolve Riot of all the psychological manipulation with the awkward bundling and currency within currencies and limited storefront for FOMO, fear of missing out. There's a lot of stuff at play here, okay? But at least this is one example of Riot being kind of cool, because after all, they'd rather you keep buying skins rather than miss out on an item you really want when you're so close with enough currency to buy it. So it's in their best interest to do this as well anyway. And hey, if you guys enjoy these news roundups, make sure that you don't miss out on our next one by hitting the subscribe button and as well the bell icon so you get notified directly to your cell phone when our videos go live. You don't want to miss an upload, so click that bell now so you don't miss out. A couple cool Reddit threads that I found interesting. This post is made by Kubrick, which is a very apt username, and you'll realize why in a second. He goes on to say that the observing in the Clan Masters Korean tournament was so much better than the tournaments in the West. It's like comparing the cinematography of a Tarantino movie to a silent movie from the 30s. They've got dual screen setups in 1v1s, picture in picture when someone's in a solo situation against multiple enemies. They're good at swapping to ults, showing ability usage on on defaults, swapping to the character that's getting hit by the ult, and etc, etc. Now, I don't watch any Korean Valorant yet because there's no English casting, obviously, but there is a chance that Koreans come in to dominate this game. We're all having our Western tournaments in NA and EU, but there's a chance that the best teams and players are in Korea right now. We'll have to wait till international competition to really hash those things out. But I was wondering if any of you, perhaps the bilingual among you, have watched other tournaments in other regions. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of their observing as well as the power level of the teams in those regions. I'd be interested to find out. But also I thought the FaZe Clan Invitational observing was pretty good, but perhaps this is even better. Another cool story about the skin economy in the game. Raspberry Moonshine translates an earnings call where Tencent's management highlighted some points about Valorant's profitability with the use of skins. We're having to trust a translation from a third party here, so who knows how accurate this is, but assuming that it is, apparently, it was explained to shareholders that a game like Valorant now can compete with the likes of RPG games that used to sort of dominate the market with virtual items. Essentially, thanks to the technology that has been developed to do so, where now the Elder Flame skins, transform your gun into a dragon that eats bullets, and that's just something that wasn't really possible 5 to 10 years ago. Where back then, and he doesn't bring this up explicitly, but when he says RPG games, I think to World of Warcraft, of course, that has a paid subscription and tons of ways to pay in order to get something to show off aesthetically. They say they think this trend is good for Tencent and, of course, the properties they own, Riot Games being a major one, but they own many more and stakes in everything because they have a lot of team-based action games where, if I can translate, I assume he means as compared to slower RPG games, having the graphical fidelity to transform your gun into a dragon, like we said, without hindering performance is a really big deal. So in any case, they seem confident that their strategy is to work. It seems like extreme premium skins are the way forward. To be fair though, I think the previous Battle Pass had quite a few really strong skins, though the .exe Vandal being so far down the line made me a bit nervous as the act was ending. But the Act 2 Battle Pass has a lot of pretty cool skins early on, so I think as we get more and more Battle Passes, we'll be less sour about the extreme premium ones that you may have to choose to skip if you want to be able to afford rent for the month. So that's my take on it anyway. We and Riot can hopefully have our cake and eat it too in this regard. Last up for the news video, Riot's most recent community spotlight featured a bunch of Valorant cosplayers, and these costumes are actually amazing. Shinra has this lifelike recreation of Cypher down to the ghost as well as the tripwire, cute little coin in his hand. The Photoshop effects of this really add to the believability of this. It almost feels like it's a 3D rendered image. Glory is back with a fierce-looking Jett cosplay that gets every aspect of the character down. A level of quality that you probably will recognize, as she also was responsible for the Killjoy cosplay that Riot had commissioned with their Valorant Latin America division. I would describe these as ridiculously lifelike. Next up, we have another Jett by Valentina, who looks stunning in this picture as if she's drawn right into the map bind, I believe that's in the background. A pretty faithful recreation of that too. Ace brings us this Phoenix cosplay, which is the best I've seen of the character yet, really nailing the hair and color palette, and the most faithful recreation of Phoenix's jacket we've seen yet, though I will say I think Riot just straight up needs to start manufacturing these, with somehow getting them to glow like they do in game. If they did, they'd sell like hotcakes. Armorat has this flawless Sova cosplay, reminds me of Legolas actually, which maybe was the idea of the character all along. He's got it down to everything from the attitude to the eye scar. My question is, how does Sova aim a bow so well if he's got a damaged eye? I think we need some lore to explain that one. Magui Sunshine shows off this elaborate Sage cosplay, faithfully recreating the character from head to toe, and Jenny Chan does much of the same with more natural lighting and environment. Lyrith brings Omen to life, where the full costume does justice to the character, but really nailing the hood, as well as whatever those 3 lines are for a face Omen has, really does the trick. Kakoa as well, with flawless costuming skills, perfect recreation of Raze. If for no other reason than I'm completely terrified of this showstopper. Riot, please nerf. Nadia Sonika, if I'm saying that right, has a quite intimidating Reyna cosplay. Looks like she's a second away from casting Leer on you, so you better get her on cover. And last but not least, Peyton shows off Viper. This and so many of these others are just perfect recreations. And well, if you get 50 Valorant points for sending in some artwork, How much do they give you for doing a full-blown cosplay? That's what I want to know. But that's going to be it for today's news roundup video. If you did enjoy it, please be sure to leave it a like. It really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe. I'm sure hit the bell icon to actually get notified when our videos come live. That's been it for me. I've been Frito for ClickHeads. We'll see you guys next time.